can a standstill throw be just as good as an X step? That's what we're here today to try and figure out. Welcome back to Real Disc Golf Simulation. Today we're going to continue our series on testing different grips, forms, and techniques to see which one of them ends up giving us the best flight numbers through the TechDisc, and in the end of the day, which one ends up flying the furthest. Today we're going to put to the test sort of the gold standard for footwork in terms of backhand throws, which is the X step, and we're going to compare that to a standstill throw, which I feel like the data on this should be fairly conclusive. We're going to go ahead and get that simulator loaded up for you guys, and we'll get right into it. So here we go. We're getting the TechDisc connected to the app here and going to get everything set up and ready to go. When it comes to this situation, I feel like the data should be fairly conclusive, right? I mean, with the X step, we're generating more momentum. We're getting a lot more power into our throws. So we should end up seeing that the data shows us that the disc goes further and has more speed and more spin and pretty much everything. Like, I don't even really think that this should be that much of a contest. The only thing that I'll say is that a lot of times when I'm up against a tree or something and I'm forced to do a standstill, I have seen a lot of really good shots come out of standstill, right? Both from myself and from other people on the course, where you get sort of surprised. You say like, wow, I can't believe that you made that good of a shot with a standstill. So maybe there is a little bit more to this. Maybe we will see something in the data. There we go. I got it all loaded up. We made our first throw there. It was a pretty good rip. We got 57 on the speed, 918 for the spin. If you've watched my videos, I'd say that's a pretty standard throw. Nose up at 8.5, which I know, get the nose down, but it's not something that you're going to see me do very often. So that one went 328 feet. The next throw here, these are all throws with the X step. And if you haven't watched this series before, what we're going to do is we're going to do 10 throws with the X step. We're going to do 10 throws with the standstill. And then we're going to pull that data up in TechDisc Throw Sets. We're going to review the data and see which, like average-wise, which ones ended up giving us the best power numbers, which ones ended up going the furthest, and then we're going to compare that to the 10 throws from the standstill. So there you go. I did the first three I showed you. I jumped ahead there to the last one. So this is the last X step throw that I'm going to show, and that was a big rip. Got out just over 400 feet. You can see I'm pretty excited about that. Anytime I get over 400 with a backhand, I feel like that's a really good throw. So we're switching over to the standstill here. We're going to end up doing 10 throws with the standstill as well. When I'm doing a standstill, you can really see that I focus a lot on that reach back. And what I think might happen, and again, I don't really know, I haven't looked at the data yet, but I think what might happen is that I might end up generating more spin with the standstill than I do with the X step. And the big reason for that is I can actually focus on that pullback and really reach back as far as I possibly can. When in the X step, I'm thinking about my footwork as well as where my arms are, which leads me to not get a full reach back. So once again, I'm going to show you about the first three throws here. So this time, instead of skipping ahead, we'll go ahead and just sort of fast forward through all of that. Again, you get the general idea. I'm making 10 throws. We're going to take the average of them, so each individual one doesn't end up mattering. That one went really far, 381 feet, so I feel pretty good about that one. But some of these aren't the greatest throws. Some of them are sort of the average, and then what we'll end up doing is, like I said, we'll take the average in that throw set that TechDisc ends up producing, and we'll go ahead and get you those numbers. So here's the last throw with a standstill. It's not a great one, but got a little bit of distance out of it, still 237 feet. So that's a look at those throws. Let's jump over into TechDisc and see what that actually shows us. All right, so here we go. I have it loaded up on the screen here. You can see X step throws are right here, standstill are here. If we look at our average speed, the X step throws had an average speed of 57.1, compared to the standstills, which had a speed of 55. And again, that's sort of what I would have guessed, right? We're getting more momentum. We should be getting more speed. I would say I'm a little bit surprised that the difference isn't bigger. 2 miles an hour is something, but it's not a huge difference. Our hyzer angle, I don't know if that's something that actually would be different on this. Now, maybe, again, focusing on that reach back is causing me to have a bit more hyzer, or maybe it's just after a whole bunch of throws that I started to realize that, again, the flight numbers for the disc I had in there are a little bit flippy, so I started to put more hyzer on it to get more distance out of it as it was turning over. Spin numbers right around the same. The X step is just a little bit higher, so it got 945 as compared to 935. Our nose angle, I had it lower on the standstill, and again, that might be that I'm really focusing more on my arm angle. Launch, not all that different. Wobble, not all that different. One thing I did want to look at is the distance, which they don't have here. If you remember, we have to jump into each throw set to see that. So I'm going to open both of these up. And I also want you to remember, when you open up a throw set, it does that cool thing where it's going to show us where each one of these throws ends up going. So here it goes. It's simulating my 10 throws. And this one that we're in is the standstill throws, still simulating. And there it goes. It makes all 10 throws, shows them on the chart there. So, we had one that hyzered out. All the rest of them went pretty straight, and then it looks like we burnt over 2 on the standstill. If we jump over into the simulation for the X step, way more all over the place. Once again, really just one of them hyzered out early. The rest of them got a pretty good flight. All of them turned over here, whereas with the standstill, we had way more that stayed sort of in a straight flight pattern, and then just one of them ended up burning out in the X step. So if we jump down into the data, I just wanted to see, like, what is our furthest throw. So with the X step, we got 402 as our furthest throw. And then after that, we had a couple in the 370 range. So let's just look down at distances for our standstill. So if we go down here, it looks like our furthest ended up being 381. We had another one at 380. Which distance-wise, not a ton of difference, right? We did end up getting one further throw in our X step, but then we had sort of some similar numbers between the two. So I think that the X step is, still the best way to end up throwing a disc, but when you are in a standstill situation, it's not going to cost you a ton is what I really see here from the data. So we're going to do this again with forehand. One other thing I do want to just throw out there is, when a player is starting off, standstill is something that I recommend a ton so that they can focus on just one part of their throw. So I do think this is a really helpful way to understand that while the X step is going to add a little bit something to the end of the throw, doing the standstill is really a great way to start and focus on your throw and get better at cleaning up a lot of your mechanics. So thanks again for watching today. Hope you enjoyed this. I'll have a forehand video on the same topic coming up in just a few days. Thanks.